evening, everybody, and welcome to Chelmsford Tonight. This is the show where we highlight the people and places that make Chelmsford and the surrounding areas such a great place to live and work. I'm Karen Woodrow, owner of Visiting Angels Senior Home Care right here in Chelmsford, and I'll be your host. In-person enjoyment of the arts took a 2-year hiatus during the pandemic, as museums and galleries were forced to close their doors. Technology allowed us virtual tours of these museums, like the Boston's Museum of Fine Arts, but on our computer screens, it just wasn't the same. Thankfully, Arts in Chelmsford is back in person. This weekend, the Chelmsford Arts Society presents the 52nd annual 4th of July Chelmsford Art Festival. With me to talk about it tonight are Elaine Seidel and Barbara Ludinsky, who are co-presidents of the Chelmsford Arts Society. Welcome to Chelmsford Tonight.
Thank you for having us.
So, what is the Chelmsford Arts Society?
The Chelmsford Arts Society is an amazing group of really welcoming artists of all kinds, people that are very experienced, show all around the area, to people that have never entered an art show before. And I just love welcoming those people in because I remember how nervous I was putting my first piece of art into a show.
So to be part of your society, I just have to have an interest in the art and maybe be able to pick up a pencil or a crayon and do something?
That's if you want to be in a show, but we have several members that just enjoy the arts. And so they like hearing about our different art programs and going to our shows, hearing about arts in the area, because that's what we try and share with everyone.
So I understand you have monthly meetings. You try and do it during the school year, September to May, because everyone's busy and tired and still recovering. So what happens at these meetings?
Well, when we had no COVID, we would have open meetings, and during the open meetings, we would usually have an artist who would come in and demo what their particular media was. So if we had someone who was an encaustic and she was using the wax to make her painting, she would show us that. Or someone would do a watercolor or another type of media. We had someone who talked about framing and how you best frame your piece and mat your piece. So we tried to find each month a different type of media or different aspect of art to talk about. And we usually have a little part of the business meeting, and then we talk about the demo, and then a social portion. Now, during COVID, what we ended up doing was going ahead and doing some YouTube videos, and thankfully with the help from the CCA, we've been able to live stream all these demos. And if you haven't been able to see them now, well, we were live streaming. The live stream YouTube video is out there. And it's also on our website where you can go to, I have a link out there because I do the website, and you can see actually back videos of all the demonstrations that we have done.
We also do tell people that in your archives are years of our demos. Yes. And I've collected all the links, and those are going out. We're going to republish all of our links. Okay. And with support from, thankfully, the Chelmsford Cultural Council and the Billerica Cultural Council this year, we really felt the need to broaden our horizon, find new artists, and really expand who we're trying to reach.
Okay, so let's show everybody an example of what they might experience during one of your monthly meetings, and it's great because you can either be in person experiencing this, and now the technology has actually helped you expand your mission to anybody, even if they can't get out. So let's take a look at the meeting you had in April, where you have an artist, Gwendolyn Lanier, presenting how she does her sketches.
Now that's just charcoal, correct?
Yep, this is just charcoal. I just want to get this edge so I can blend it in. The technique the style I like to work in is called chiaroscuro. So it has a very obvious focal light to it, and it's pretty much, the rest of it's kind of left dark. So that's why I usually work with the face and the figure first, and kind of leave the background last, because I want to now start moving the background into here.
So I can see from this video that you really are, the Chelmsford Arts Society really is a forum for local artists to get together, share their ideas, and you promote education of the arts through events like these. And also what we're here to talk about really is how artists can present their products to the consumer, and we can all really enjoy their art. So tell us about the upcoming 4th of July Chelmsford Art Festival.
You gave us a nice break from all the preparations that are going on right now. But we have, I think we're at 37 artists and over 60 pieces of art. And it will be in the auditorium of the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. We are really trying to get back. We're happy to be back.
And it's a 3-day festival.
Yes.
Right? It starts Saturday, goes Sunday and Monday.
Right, until after the parade, and then
Yeah. So it is our first year back. In past years, we have had over 100 artists and much more art. And we do plan to get back there. We are doing more and more to reach more people.
Okay, so Chelmsford Telemedia does have an excellent archive.
Yes.
And we were able to come up with a video from a previous 4th of July festival, but it's from 2014. It might seem a little bit retro right now, but let's take a look at that, and then you guys can tell us what we can expect at this year's 4th of July Arts Festival. So are we gonna have T-shirts this year?
some of those T-shirts are still around.
They
You might-
become collector's items, right?
You might see the volunteers in those
Okay.
to help identify us.
So do you find that the art changes over the years? Like this is 2014, and I'm seeing, I don't know, photographs or photography and oil painting and lots of landscape. Do you think that it's going to be different this year? Have people
You
changed?
probably have a couple more abstract and poured. I don't think that you saw any poured art at all in 2014. Now we have a couple artists who do poured art.
Okay.
People are experimenting with different media. People are coming back after years and trying new things, and artists that are working go in all sorts of different directions, using metallics and different things. But I do want to say, if people can't make the 4th, which we really are excited how much fun it hopefully is going to be, we do bring most of the show over to the Chelmsford Library from July 6th to August 6th.
Oh, that's great. So 2 opportunities to
Right.
see this great exhibit. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time from your busy preparations to tell us about what's going on with the Chelmsford Arts Society and the 4th of July Festival. And I think that you'll probably have a really great show. People have had 2 years to really, a lot of time on their hands to be very prolific, and there's a lot of feelings going on inside everybody that hopefully they've gotten down on their canvases or through their camera lens, and I'm looking forward to enjoying it. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank
for having
you.
us.
We'll be right back after this break. Here we have a picture of Elton John performing one of his famous high kicks. Did you know that the G proteins in our cells do a similar dance? Joining me now is Linda Tonini, an award-winning biology and biotechnology teacher at Chelmsford High School. In her classroom, Linda uses pop culture and other relevant ideas to teach biology to her students. Thank you for joining me, Linda, and explaining what the heck I'm talking about with these G proteins. But before we talk about Elton John, we need to congratulate you. I understand that you have just won a big award. You were named Massachusetts Outstanding Biology Teacher for this year, and you'll be getting your award in the fall. And that's just an amazing accomplishment, and thank you for all the contributions you made to Chelmsford High School to earn that award. What does the award mean to you?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me and congratulating me. It is a great deal. I mean, to be awarded by your peers, to have them say that you are a great teacher and such is just such an honor. I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for such a great support that I have from the school too. I feel very comfortable at Chelmsford, being able to try new things, explain things like I do to my students, and just be able to do the best I can for all the students that are there. So it's a great honor, but it's also nice to see that be acknowledged by my peers and also the support from everyone I have.
That's great. So clearly the National Association of Biology Teachers recognize something pretty special about your teaching style and your teaching philosophy. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
I just try to do the best I can for the students most of the time. My teaching style is a lot of trying to do hands-on activities, having a high standard for the students, but also just getting them to love science a little bit, love the classroom, feel comfortable in the classroom. Allow them to have the chance to take a chance on something, even if they might not be comfortable, but put themselves out there and explore things a little bit and feel comfortable being able to do that with the support of a teacher too. To say, yeah, you know what, you got it, let's fix this a little bit, and have that support there too. So I try to have a little bit of fun. I try to make it entertaining a little bit also, but I also try to get them into my mind a little bit of how things work. That's why Elton John came in, because that's what I think about every time. So I was like, this is what's going on in my mind, and now I need to share with you.
All right, so explain that. We have one of your students was quoted in the Lowell Sun as saying that you were the teacher that taught her about the fun side of biology.
Yeah.
So tell us about the G protein and Elton John's Kicks.
So G protein is a very complex concept to understand in biology, and so the students had to learn it. And again, you have to think in your mind and imagery and stuff like that. And what happens is in your cells, the protein actually kind of changes shape, and it kind of kicks up a little part of it when it's activated. And again, in my mind, I keep thinking to myself of the video, I'm Still Standing from Elton John, and at one point he does a little kind of kick dance, and I show the students, I'm like, you have no idea what I'm talking about, because they probably don't remember it. They never saw the video, and so I sit and show them, and obviously that stuck, and that's okay, as long as it's something that helps them to remember it, understand the process, so that when they do have those questions and analysis, they can kind of be like, oh yeah, I remember that, and pull those different ways of getting that information into their learning.
So the Lowell Sun also had a quote from you, and I think it's a really important quote, and I think it talks a lot about your teaching ability and why you were given this award. You said, "For me, it isn't important if every student remembers every detail of biology. It is important that every student experience a part of all the different pathways that are available to be successful in their lives."
I joke around with my family members. I know biology, I know it really well. But other people in my family, they're very successful, and they could not tell me what a G protein is or what a Punnett square is, but they know where to get the answers, and that's important too. And the success is not measured in what you do in one subject area. Success is being able to, for your own benefit, it's what you're happy with, but it's being able to know where to get the answers. It's know the process, know how to look at things and analyze. And so I think it's important for every student to have a little bit of everything so that they can find out what they love and continue with their passions. And for some students, it's going to be science. Some it might be the arts. Some it might be something totally different, and that's totally okay. Mm-hmm. But as long as they feel comfortable in the classroom, they feel like they can learn, they can take chances, that's what's going to bring them a lot of success.
It's all about the love of learning and the curiosity and the questions that they ask. And we have a video of you teaching in the classroom, engaging with the students, so let's take a look at you in action.
Oh, great.
There's a mutation here in LACO. Yeah.
Would that mean the repressor protein couldn't bind to it?
Correct. The repressor protein can't bind. Are we going to be able to make these genes, LAC-Z and LAC?
No.
What does the repressor protein do?
It stops the polymerase from...
Stops this from binding. So if this is mutated and this can't bind, what's going to happen to this guy? Does it bind or does it not bind?
It would.
It would bind.
Yeah.
Right, and so what we call that, so that's actually something that does happen.
So part of your teaching and your philosophy and your idea of what you're trying to get across to the kids is learning life sciences for life. Mm-hmm. And Congratulations also to the Chelmsford Public Schools for earning the Skills Capital Grant of almost $50,000 to put into this kind of Life Sciences for Life program. Can you give us an idea of what's going to be happening in the science department next year?
Yeah, we're very excited about it. We've already kind of started playing around with some of the changing the curriculum a little bit to, again, give that real life experiences to the students. So some of the stuff that we'll be doing is we have 2 pathways in the life sciences. One's environmental science and the other one is biotechnology. Some students, if they're interested in it, they can start taking classes to kind of get them a little bit more understanding of those fields. And a lot of it is not many changes to what they're taking classes. So in biology classes, students will be able to use some tools that the scientists are using today. We did micropipetting with some of those students in biology classes and PCRing DNA. And that's kind of fun because they've heard of it now. And it's kind of like, wait, everyone's doing PCR for COVID.
Right.
And now we get
And it's so great when what you're learning in the classroom is relevant to life.
It is. So it's really exciting because this is stuff that, like, again, you can watch TV programs and they're doing that too. And they're playing with the same tools. And we're not giving them just simulations, but actual things that they would use if they were to go in this field. And again, it's giving them a little understanding of what's happening in the sciences around them today. So it's kind of exciting. I think the kids do think it's fun playing with the micropipettes and such. So we'll get to continue that a little bit and keep them enthralled with it.
And you'll still be working with the pond that John Morris was on our
yes.
show talking about. It's all connected.
I love my classroom gets to see the pond because there might be every once in a while I'll stop class when I see a bird come in. I'll be like, oh guys, you got to check this. I think there was a coyote the other day too. And I was like, you got to check out the animal. We also got some really nice cameras too to help look at some of the animals and track them for a national area that would sit there and actually calculate what type of wildlife we have in the area too. So some really neat stuff that is doing real science for the students.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Linda. I appreciate you being here, and congratulations on being awarded the Massachusetts Outstanding Biology Teacher this year. And I am sure that your Chelmsford Tonight mug will look wonderful next to your award on your desk next year.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
We'll be right back with our next guest after this break. So I have spent most of my life around seniors. Growing up, my mother was an activities director in a nursing home in the area. And I used to spend a lot of time with her there. She was an activities director, and we played bingo and other things with the residents. For the past 4 years, my husband and I have owned Visiting Angels Senior Home Care. I have seen the many, many ways seniors age. Some do it very well, and some not so well, unfortunately. What studies have shown is that staying active with your mind and your body is a great way to stay young. And here to talk about that with me tonight is Marilyn Ciccarella. Marilyn is a very active senior. She became active since she was a little girl, and she has continued up until today to an age where we will not reveal it unless she gives us permission to. Thank you for being with us, Marilyn. I appreciate you joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So you're wearing your Senior Games shirt. Still fits. That's great. Tell me about the Senior Games. This was something you got active in when you were around 50. Is that true?
That is correct. It started, I think you had to be 55 to start. I first started, I lived in Newton, and a group of us got together. We had to do, first you have to try out for the state. And we're for the state of Massachusetts, and it's usually on the even year. And the odd year is usually the National Senior Games. So my first Senior Games was in 1997.
And what's your sport?
It was volleyball. I did do triathlon in one of the Senior Games, but I started with volleyball in Tucson, Arizona, 1997 Senior Games.
And what attracted you to being in the senior games?
Well, you know, I was always athletic. And growing up, there wasn't team sports for women, not for girls, not when I was growing up.
Yeah, let's just take a moment to celebrate Title IX, which really changed the landscape for female athletes.
It sure did, yeah, yeah. And I lived in Newton, Massachusetts, and the Newton Recreation sponsored a group of us to try out for the senior games and so forth. So I started with volleyball. And our first games were in Tucson, Arizona in 1997.
And everybody on your team is 55 and older.
Oh, that's correct, yep, right.
And how many teams come from around the country?
They're from all the states, and also maybe a few from out of the country, but mostly every state in the United States. At that time, we were the only team from Massachusetts, women's team from Massachusetts. There were no men's teams at that time.
What are all these senior men doing?
Well, nobody knew about it for one thing. And since the Newton Recreation was very active with women's sports, it's how the women got involved.
All right. And how many years did you participate?
In the senior games, 10 years.
Wow.
10 years, yeah.
And so when you were younger, were you a volleyball player? What kind of sports did you do? Were you just like playing with the boys?
Yeah,
I mean, I know in my neighborhood we were just playing kickball in the street.
Playing with the boys. Remember, I did not have organized sports growing up, so I always played with the boys. Probably when I went into college, we had organized sports. But it wasn't until I lived in Newton that we had organized sports, and I could play softball and volleyball, soccer and so forth.
So I have to ask you, how do you feel about sort of that name, senior games and senior athlete? Is it something to be proud of?
I never gave much thought to it, to be honest with you.
Well, I ask you that because I started running. I'm a runner. I started as an adult, and I've been running for many years now, and I do road races. And I've noticed lately that people look at me and they go, "You go, girl!" And I'm like, why suddenly are people cheering for me? And I realize that I'm probably a lot older than most people on the race course, and they're celebrating what I'm doing, yet I feel like this is just what I do. Like, why is this a big deal? But perhaps it is, right?
Well, I've been running for 55 years when they didn't even have running shoes. I was in Jack Purcell sneakers.
Oh.
You know? And so I'd say, like I said, 55 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I think the Boston Marathon just celebrated 50 years of women running in the marathon. So you were a trendsetter. Thank you for that. I appreciate you leading the way for everybody else.
Well, I ran the marathon unofficial.
Congratulations. I understand what an amazing accomplishment that is.
Yeah.
Especially, when you're probably one of the few women in the crowd at the time, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Did you have the right running shoes at that
sure,
point?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
good.
I won't name them because I'm not doing a commercial.
All right, we're going to get you a sponsorship for your next event. So you're done with the senior games, but you are still a very active senior. We have a video of you that I'd love to share with everybody of you gardening at Sunny Meadow Farms.
Now, I've been 12 years doing gardening here. I love being outdoors. I love working in the soil. I love, just watching those plants grow. My peas are flowering now. They're flowering now, so I should be getting peas eventually. I don't have any yet, but they're coming. The marigolds are good to keep aphids away from the tomato plants. So I have them all in between there. I love the outdoors, and I love working with the soil. And I always say, I always say gardening is the closest you can get to God because you have the seed, right? And it's like America watching everything grow, you know?
So you look great out there. I'm seeing a market for like gardening athletic shoes. So all the fitness that you have done throughout your life and in the senior games seems to have, you're making use of all these skills that you've developed in the garden. I see you. So describe some of the fitness things that you're doing in the garden.
Well, you know, first of all, I have to say I start all my vegetables from seed in my house, in my grow light. And so, and especially the tomato plants.
So that's sort of like your warm-up, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I start those in March. It's very exciting. You know, I can hardly wait for March, because I know. And it keeps me extremely busy. In gardening, you know, to be a gardener, you can't just plant a garden and just not take care of it. You know, it takes work to start a garden. But once it's started and it start harvesting, then it's fantastic. There's a lot. It takes a lot of strength. You know, I have a wheelbarrow, the wheelbarrow, and you know, I put everything in there. It's pretty heavy, including all the soil. And incidentally, Chelmsford provides us with all the tools in the tool shed and the water and so forth. It's out there in Sunny Acres, up there in over past the center of Chelmsford. Initially, I have garden beds. That makes it much, much easier to do.
Right, and I see that you're using your joints and your muscles you have to bend down to take your seedlings and put them in the soil. And it was easy to imagine, you're out there, you're climbing into the beds, and so I think that all the fitness that you've done is really coming through even in the gardening that you're doing during this time in your life.
Oh yeah, there's definitely up and down, up and down. Oh yeah, I still can get up, incidentally.
Good, that's really important. That's what everyone says. I can't get down and play with my grandchildren because I can't get up, but there you are with staying in shape your whole life and continuing now. I think that's really fantastic. Do you have advice for other seniors of what they should be doing now in their lives to stay as full of the joie de vivre that you have?
Well, you know, you keep active physically, mentally, socially, emotionally. I play bridge, you know. I do a lot of reading, belong to a book club. Then, of course, I still run. I still go running. And
are you doing the 4th of July race?
No.
No.
I haven't got time. But you know, for seniors, you really have to stay involved socially, especially. You know,
right.
Whether that is joining,
right,
you know, different clubs and so forth.
Yeah. Well, Marilyn, you are an inspiration to everybody in our community. To our seniors and to even adults that have been sitting around too much during the pandemic. Thank you for motivating everyone to get off the couch, and thank you for being with me.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
So that's our show tonight. I want to thank my camera crew, John Egan, Bob Parasow, and Karen Karpowicz. And of course, the forever young Pete Padula up in the control booth. If you have a story that you think would be of interest to everyone in Chelmsford about what makes it so great, we'd love to hear it and talk about it on Chelmsford Tonight. Thank you for being with us. Good night, everybody.